Welcome to Paranormal Yacker. You are invited to join me, your host, Stan Mallow, each week when I interview a different guest of note in their respective field: the unexplained, the mysterious, the macabre, UFOs, ghosts, Bigfoot, psychic phenomena. We explore them all on Paranormal Yacker. Hi, everyone. I'm Stan Mallow, the Paranormal Yacker. My guest today is internationally acclaimed psychic therapist, medium, spiritual master, and author Vincent Genna. He has transformed thousands of people's lives through his empowering presentations, workshops, classes, and private sessions. Vincent is known worldwide as a visionary of our times, and when you hear what he has to say, you'll know why he is all that. I'll be speaking with him about his #1 best-selling book, The Secret That's Holding You Back, as well as some of his services that he offers. Vincent Genna, welcome to Paranormal Yacker.
Oh, my goodness, Dan, thank you for inviting me. It's exciting to be here. I look forward to what we're going to be talking about today.
You, Vincent, believe that if a person is not pursuing a rewarding career, not in a loving relationship, not financially secure, or don't even know that their life purpose or passion, they're stopping themselves without even knowing it. So, in a sense, people are their own worst enemy. When did you realize that? And what was the catalyst, the situation that opened your eyes to that realization, that being many people are just stopping themselves?
Oh, my goodness, Stan. Yeah, it's so I've been involved in the metaphysical, spirituality, and the psychology fields for now over 40 years. During that time, and especially in the beginning with the research that I did, I immediately, once these abilities came upon me and my eyes started to open and I awakened to some spiritual principles and understanding, like the law of attraction, I realized that that law and that principle works 24/7 for everyone, everywhere. However, whether people are knowing how to use it or not, well, that's another story. There are plenty of books and lectures out there that talk about how to use that specific principle. And everybody takes those classes and they buy those books. I mean, there's a plethora of books on it, but still not able to manifest what they want. As a matter of fact, they manifest what they don't want. So I had to dive deep into that to figure out why, what was going on there. And as I was studying to become a psychotherapist, I was going for my undergrad degree in psychology and my master's in clinical social work. I did a lot of research and I worked with different psychologists who were doing their own research on the self and the human mind. So now that was something that really intrigued me because I felt somehow, some way, our minds must be getting in the way of our ability to manifest. Everybody was believing in the law of attraction, supposedly, and they were believing in what they wanted to manifest. But again, it wasn't turning out that way. In the research that my psychologists were doing, that I was working with, whom I were working with, and the research I did, I came to find out that people don't believe what they think they believe, Stan. That is the major problem. There are different levels of the mind, and in my book, I named 2 more that Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung did not happen to mention. Way in the beginning of the advent of psychiatry with Sigmund Freud, he was the one that really dove in, and after him, there was some German psychiatrists, into the understanding of the human mind. And at first, he said that there were 2 parts. There was the conscious part and the subconscious part, and that the subconscious part was automatic. Then after a certain amount of time, he realized, well, no, there's a 3rd part. There has to be a 3rd part because people know certain things. They have a deeper understanding, and even if it wasn't taught to them, possibly an intuition. And that's where he got this concept of intuition. And so he named the 3rd section of the mind the unconscious mind. Well, Carl Jung took it a little bit further, who was his favorite student and who was successful in his own rights. And he said, well, in that unconscious mind, every human knows the same things about certain ideas. For example, if you ask a person in America, what's the concept and what do they believe a mother is, they're going to give you a very similar definition to what a person in Japan would answer. So that's how Carl Jung created what was called the archetypes and understood somehow, some way, we're all connected to an unconscious mind, a superconscious mind, a collective unconscious mind that held all those truths. So there down deep inside of us is the soul's mind that is telling us who we really are. But then we incarnate here on the earth and we start receiving different messages, not necessarily ones that vibrate or go harmoniously with the ones that we just came in from the other side with, like we're wonderful, we're God kind of divine, magnificent beings capable of creating all that we want. We're co-creators. Well, once we got here and our stories began with the way the environment and our parents and the adults around us started treating us, a different story started to step in. And all of these negative self-beliefs began to form. I call them the I'm nots. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not deserving enough. From all the different messages we wind up receiving, we form these beliefs. In my book, The Secret That's Holding You Back, I say that the brain, what it did now was create a new section of the mind to harbor all of those negative beliefs. I call it the environment made mind because when we're children, the environment is responsible for what we believe. We suck in everything. We don't have developed brains to be able to form our own beliefs. We just take in and very simply interpret I'm not for anything that may be negative coming in. Well, the other part of my studies began to understand the brain and that the two highest functions of the brain, one, to keep us alive, and two, to protect us in order to keep us alive. So we know how the brain protects us physically, Stan. For example, when we were going through the coronavirus, a fever was one of the symptoms of the coronavirus. But actually, it wasn't the coronavirus that was causing the fever. It was the brain that created the fever intentionally to create an unlivable environment in our bodies for that virus in order to get rid of it. So it was trying to protect us with that fever. It's not paying attention to the fact that the fever causes discomfort also, and sometimes if it gets too high, it could even kill us. But all it cares, its agenda is get that virus. If it protects us physically, how would it protect us emotionally? If we have these emotional negative feelings that we're walking around with, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, I'm not smart enough, I'm not tall enough, I'm not pretty enough. Oh my gosh, there's so many I'm nots that we develop. How would we get through life and cope? We see some people that don't have coping mechanisms and they are living in states of depression or high anxiety and things like that because they're not getting protected from those feelings. But the rest of the world, what the brain does is create a new section of the mind. I call it the adult-made mind, where now, because our brains are developed, it develops and creates a new set of beliefs, beliefs that shield us and protect us from our true belief. Now, why was that important? Now I had to step into the field of spirituality. And in spirituality is the law of attraction. That law states that whatever you think, you create. In reality, it's not what you think that creates, it's what you believe that creates. But beliefs, not in your conscious mind, in your unconscious mind. Because, Stan, if that power was connected to our conscious minds, that would mean the moment we had a thought, boom, something would be created. That would be dangerous. Half the world would be dead by now. The other half would be billionaires from winning the lottery all the time. That's a no-no. So where is it connected? It's connected to our unconscious minds. And what's in our unconscious minds? In the environment-made mind are all those negative self-beliefs. I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable. I'm not deserving. I'm not smart enough. So when you're trying to create something and manifest now, and you're thinking, I deserve that job. I'm good enough. I'm smart enough. You're thinking that consciously. But because of the messages you received when you were younger, Stan, that little you is turning around and saying, you're not going to get that job. You're not good enough for that job. You're not smart enough. You don't deserve it. Now that energy is released into the world. And that's the reason why people aren't manifesting what they want to manifest. But the problem is, Stan, they don't know what their real beliefs are that are causing the manifestations that they don't want, because that brain created that protective layer that is shielding them from understanding that. So they either come up with the attitude of, the law of attraction, it's all nonsense. Oh, all of this spiritual stuff is nonsense. It doesn't work. You just live and then you die. They come up with that attitude. Or, I don't know how to do it. Don't understand why it's not working. I'm doing everything right, everything that it says. They're confused no matter what. And that's how I came up with my book. Because when you do that internal work, guess what? You start manifesting, Stan. Now, I know that that was not the abridged version of the answer, but it's hard to answer that question in just a few sentences. You know what I mean, Stan?
I'm very pleased that you did respond in the way that you did. That was great. I thank you for that. It's for sure that there is a tendency for most people to blame others for their failures. I guess it's easier to do that than to look in the mirror and put their setbacks in life in their own ballpark. What, Vincent, do you suggest people do as a first step in getting their life back on track?
That's such a great question, because you're absolutely right. Part of the defense mechanisms that the brain creates, even Freud came up with 10 different defense mechanisms, and projection is one of them. It's when you're feeling bad about yourself, but that feels too bad. So that defense kicks in now that, wait a minute, I know why I didn't get that job. I know why I didn't get the promotion. It's because my boss is an idiot. That guy is an idiot. It's not me, it's them. It's easier, you're absolutely right, to blame them. It's easier to be angry with someone other than yourself, because it's more painful to be upset with yourself for not creating it. This is what I tell everybody. This is what I state in the book. And you said it in the beginning. If you are not manifesting the lives that you want, then you have to know that you are not believing what you think you believe. And that's the first thing you have to admit is, whoa, something is going on inside of me that I'm unaware of, because I'm creating this. So you have to step out of the consciousness of victimhood. And that's actually the lowest consciousness that we started with when we first incarnated here. And we hopefully are supposed to be evolving to higher consciousness understandings. Michael Beckwith and others before Michael Beckwith actually stated that there are 4 levels of consciousness that we need to evolve through. The first being victimization. Whenever you're blaming someone else or something else, no matter what it is, biology, the environment, other people, you're claiming that you're a victim to them and that situation. So with that mentality, you're not going to be able to create or manifest anything that you want. In fact, you're going to keep creating what you don't want. Because if you're thinking everything bad happens to you, guess what happens, Stan? You create everything bad. You start experiencing all this bad stuff. Those people who always claim, I got a gray cloud following me my entire life. If there is a hole in the street and the street is so wide and we're all walking down the street, I'm the one that's going to find that hole and break my leg. And what happens? He finds the hole and breaks his leg. And everybody around understands that concept. They understand when it happens negatively to people. But what they don't understand is that if it happens negatively, it can happen positively too. If you believe otherwise, then that's what you're going to manifest. So you have to first acknowledge, I'm blocking myself. Somewhere, somehow, deep inside of me is the belief that I don't deserve this job, that I don't deserve a lover, I'm not lovable, that I don't deserve good health, or I don't deserve a rewarding life and career and wonderful, loving relationships. You have to be able to admit that first. And that, Stan, takes the greatest courage. Because if it's not anything else, then it is you. And that is the reason why people don't want to take the responsibility, because at first it's very painful. Think about that. And the older you are, the more painful it is. I've been blessed. I have clientele that ranges from 18 years old all the way up to 99. 99 was the oldest client that I had. I'm hoping to get a 100-year-old client someday. But even the 18-year-olds feel, or 20-year-olds, oh my God, I messed up so much of my life. I said, are you kidding? You just about started life. What are you talking about? You messed it up. It wasn't in your hands until maybe 10 minutes ago when you turned 18 years old. Before that, it was in every adult's hand around you. And you didn't mess up anything yet. take a 60-year-old, and as much as it's difficult for them to be able to admit, oh my gosh, I've been the one that has stopped every one of my successes in my life. I'm the one who attracted the wrong lovers. I'm the one that caused all of this stuff. That is really painful for people to be able to admit, but they have to understand that that's why this isn't the only life. If you just begin to realize that life is unlimited, whether we're in a physical body and then afterwards, when we're not in a physical body, life absolutely continues. When we get to the other side, Stan, we're going to look back here and we're going to go, oh my gosh, I thought that life was so important. Holy cow, that is hardly a speck of the rest of the things that I've been experiencing in life. Some wonderful lives in the past, maybe not, maybe you were a pirate in one of the lifetimes, who knows? But the case is that this isn't all that there is. I constantly try to normalize and even minimize people's feelings about their mistakes, their lower choices, because no matter how old they are, who cares? Because really, our journey here isn't to get everything right. Our journey here is to try to learn and to grow and remember who we are. And as long as you're taking those steps to try and do, this is the one time Yoda is wrong. It's okay to keep trying to get to know yourself. Really, that's doing. You are doing things, right? What Yoda always said, he said, don't try, there is no try, only do or do not, right? Well, when you're here and you're going after your life, you're doing it. So it's another word for it is, well, I'm trying, I'm going, I'm learning, I'm growing. So that's what matters more than actually having achieved it. If it takes 20 years, if it takes 80 years, if it takes 100 years, it doesn't matter. Your soul just wants to go after it and try to remember who you are and awaken your magnificence and your own divinity and go, oh, that's who I really am. Oh, that's what I can really do. Taking that responsibility shouldn't be so difficult. And I promise everybody who's listening to your program right now, if you're here and you are listening, then obviously you have advanced to some degree, whatever degree that is, because you're open, you're wanting to grow, you're wanting to learn, you're listening to a program like yours, Stan, where you're going to get some education, you're going to get inspiration, empowerment, and insight. That means you're in a really good place. So it doesn't matter then what mistakes you made. Look at how far you've come. I made some really dopey mistakes and choices when I was younger, but I also went through a hard time when I was younger, so I have an excuse for them. Now, if I keep making them as an adult, that's a little silly because I have other choices and opportunities. But whenever you at least take that opportunity to grow and to want to change and to have the courage to say, I've been causing this, which means I can stop it and make it better, then that's the first major step. Everything after that, it's not a piece of cake, but it's the most important step that you can take first, Stan. But that is the first step to take. The second one can be the emotional one. Oh, you want to hear what that is?
Go right ahead.
You're
What
on.
a cliffhanger. Yes,
Waiting.
please.
Okay. All right, wait. The second one, wait, hold on a second. I got to take a drink for this one. Oh,
Okay, me
oh,
too
with the
then.
whistle. There you go. Have that. Okay, here we go. Cheers. Now you have to start allowing yourself to recognize what you do believe about yourself. That's what people have been avoiding all along. Because to be walking around, like I said in the beginning, thinking I'm not lovable is very painful. It's not true, but to believe that you believe that, to understand that that's what you've been believing, and that's why you haven't had great relationships, or your relationship right now is not working out, it's because you don't believe you're lovable to start with. That is painful. So you have to have the courage then. Now you switch the courage from admitting that you've been blocking yourself to, I can face this. And as an adult, if you really think about it, and I did this again while I was writing my book. Actually, this version of the book is a second version of the book. The first version I wrote had a lot more memoir in it. And my editor said, not that much memoir right now. Let's just make it the help book, how to do book, and the memoir you can write later on. But while I was writing that part and I was recalling everything that little Vinny went through, I wasn't feeling the pain of what I went through anymore. I was feeling unbelievable compassion for the little Vinny. And I just sat there and went, oh my God, you poor kid. I can't believe you went through all of that and you did it all alone. And look at how far you've come, even though you did that all alone. Look at the choices that you have made. Yeah, okay, there were some not best choices, but all in all, look at how good you are. But you poor kid. kid. And I embraced him and held him. When you face that little kid inside and what that poor kid has been believing, you want to hug that little kid. You want to hold that little kid. You want to tell that little kid, oh my God, I love you so much. I can't believe mommy and daddy treated you that way. They shouldn't have. They lost out on knowing a really good kid. And you wind up switching and feeling bad that your parents didn't get a chance, or the adults in your life didn't get a chance to get to know who you really were. And you start feeling better about yourself. So in the beginning, you may think that you believe I'm unlovable, but then when you start holding that kid, truly think about it. What child is not lovable? None. Even the kid that acts up, that it also is not that kid's fault because of whatever went on in the womb, whatever the mom was pregnant and she was experiencing in her outer world is what that child was going to absorb in that womb. But even if they come out blemished in any way, you still want to hold them and hug them and teach them how wonderful they are and how lovable they are. Doing this work gives you that opportunity to do that for the first time. And as you do that, Stan, you begin to see your world change because you're opening the door to positive manifesting rather than negative manifesting. You know, you're saying to the law of attraction, here I am, me and my little kid, my entire unconscious mind, we're here together. You know what? We deserve that job. We deserve a wonderful love. We deserve financial stability. We deserve great health. And now you start seeing it occur because you're reinforcing a positive belief and replacing the negative one, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable. Those are the two things you have to do. And it takes a lot of courage. But guess what? We're worth it. You're worth it. Because when you get to the other side of this, you know, it's so funny. I compare this with pregnancy. There would not be 8 billion people on the face of the earth if women refused to go through the pain that they go through giving birth. And when they get to the other side, for the most part, this doesn't happen with every woman, but the average woman, after she gives birth to that child and is holding that child and is loving that child, and maybe a couple of months, maybe a year goes by and she goes, I want another one. She's got to the other side of the pain that she experienced and is now experiencing the joy that takes the place of the pain. Well, it's the exact same thing when you do this work. When you give birth to the real you, to the truth about how wonderful you are, you bypass the pain you went through to get there. And you find out it was so worth it. And that's why you do this work. Does that answer your question? I even forgot what the question was by this point. I talked.
You did. Absolutely. You did great. Thank you. I mean, I'm just mesmerized by you and everything, all this knowledge that you have and that you are sharing it. Not many people.
Thank you for letting me share it, Stan. I consider you like a lighthouse, and I may be some of the light that's going out there, but you're the one that's allowing me to shine out there. So without you, I can't get my word out there. I may have knowledge, but you have the knowledge and the wisdom to be able to get it out into the world.
After decades of study, research, and experience in the fields of metaphysics, the paranormal, and psychology, you, Vincent, discovered unique divisions of the unconscious mind never before identified that the human brain developed over time. And you did speak about some of that previously. Is it possible to elaborate a bit on that?
Again, through the understanding of evolution and the brain itself and its capacities, it does what it needs to do in order to keep us alive. But even more than that, because of the spiritual part of who we are, it doesn't just keep us surviving, it keeps us wanting to thrive. There's where the soul's mind comes in and kind of like works with the human brain mind that is created to create who we are. Now, the consciousness is in control of everything. And here's what's really interesting about the whole mind. Only 2 to 5% of the entire human mind is in conscious awareness. That's it, 2 to 5%. That means 95 to 98% of the mind is in unconscious awareness. So when people are walking around thinking, oh, I know who I am, I know myself, I know what I'm thinking. No, you don't. You have no idea what's going on in 95% of your mind. That's why we get in trouble and we don't create what we want to create because we're not understanding all of this stuff. But your brain has to keep you going. The other interesting part is that scientists can measure the stimulation of the brain. They do that with PET scans and all different kind of brain scans, right? They put the probes on and they can see the electrical impulses, but what they cannot see and they cannot tell is, one, where those electrical impulses are coming from and where is the mind. They don't know where the mind is. There is no holding place in the brain for the mind. So the mind is another part of us that is in our energy field somewhere, somehow. And I believe eventually they'll discover what it is. I know you can check the biorhythms and the bioenergy that floats around us that's based on the chakra system that they call the 7 spiritual centers that we have that creates this flow of energy that is around us. Scientists can see that and measure that. Is that the full mind? They don't know. I know that, yes, that is part of your mind. So the spiritual aspect of who we are and the connection to source is what powers us. Where's the battery pack in the brain? There's no battery pack. The brain is not a battery. And even though they think it is, and they think that when the brain is ready to die down, that's when we die. When in actuality, Stan, it's the other way around. I was a hospice social worker as one of my jobs when I got my psychotherapy degree. I had my own practice, and then I went into hospice care. And I helped over 500 patients while they were transitioning into the other dimensions, and I was helping their caregivers all at the same time. The point is that we are capable. I've seen so many of my patients even controlling their dying process, and depending upon where they are in their lives, they held on for long periods of time or they let go real quickly. My father was a pure example of that. When my mother died, I knew shortly after that my father was going to go too. They were 2 old Italian people that were together for over 62 years in marriage, and mom had a decline because she had fallen and she had Alzheimer's, and dad had dementia. And both my wife and I knew whatever the time element was going to be, it was going to be a short period. And sure enough, within 6 weeks after mom died, dad died. Now, how did that happen? This was a healthy man. He was 92 years old, but he had the blood pressure of a teenager without any medication. He was in perfect health. A matter of fact, he had fallen, and in, let's say, it was September of one year. And we had, of course, right away, we made sure we had x-rays done and there were MRIs done just to make sure he didn't fracture anything. And he didn't hurt himself. So his bones were perfectly clear. Then in October, he had a cold. And the one thing is when with senior doctors, they want to take x-rays, chest x-rays, when a senior has a cold that age, because they want to make sure that they're not getting pneumonia. So they took lung x-ray of my father, perfectly clear, beautiful, like baby type lungs is what they said. After his cold, my mother then was put on hospice care because she had fallen and she was starting to have failure to thrive. So she was in the dying process. Right after mom died, dad started to decline physically and emotionally. And he declined so much that at one point he was in a catatonic phase where he didn't hear me, he didn't respond. All of a sudden, he just stopped talking. I knew something was going on. I brought him to the hospital, and very minimally, I just wanted to see, they were able to give him a scan. I want you to give him a full body scan because I know something is going on. Sure enough, and this was 6 weeks. So now October, he had clear lungs. September, he had clear bones. My mother died in December. By January, my father had lung cancer and a tumor the size of a baseball on an artery in his lungs, spreading cancer throughout his entire body, and he had metastatic bone cancer that the x-ray came back to show. And the reason why he went into a catatonic phase is his brain was protecting him from pain. We immediately put him on morphine. Boom, that man responded back, and that day he consciously died. He died of congestive heart failure. It just came along, boom, he died. His soul somehow, some way created his way out. Otherwise, this was a perfectly healthy man, but he wanted to leave and he was out. And think about all the people that may be leaving today. There's a lot of stress going on in the world today, Stan, and it's become really difficult to live here. And a lot of people are wanting to go home, back home. And so they are leaving. We have that type of control over our bodies. And that was the different divisions of the mind that we're able to, and the soul were able to control elements that the brain fed into. We have more going on in the mind. That's why I named those two other levels, because that's what the brain loves to compartmentalize and create sections and holding places. Like, where is the soul's mind held? That's in the unconscious, superconscious mind. That's why Carl Jung called it that. And then where are all these negative feelings held? Well, it's not going to be where the soul mind is, because the soul's mind is all positive and loving and has all information from the other side. So there's got to be another level there. And then where is the defensive mind that's creating all of these new beliefs and shielding? The brain would create another compartment there. That's what the brain does in order for us to survive, but also grow and thrive, because it knows, the brain knows we're more than, and is being fed by this source and this power. And so it's doing everything it can with the cooperation of the soul's mind to get us going in the right direction. And if we're not going in the right direction and nothing is going to help us here anymore, it will take us out of here too. Those are the different avenues of the mind there, and why the brain creates them, Stan.
I'm sure many of my viewers would love to go to your website. You spoke about it. Could you please share it?
Oh, yes. It's vincentgenna.com with a Genna. Yeah, there I go, forgetting even to share my own website. But thank you, Stan, for reminding me. That's vincentgenna.com, Genna, and you can link with me anywhere you want. And I also respond back, just so that you know. I have a group page on Facebook, The Secret That's Holding You Back. So when you read the book, you can even join and share your experiences with others there. And I will respond back to you if you're reaching any detours or blocks or anything. I will help you with it. But especially when you have the successes, I love when you share that as well. So I can communicate and will communicate with you if you need that.
Vincent Genna, I thank you for being my guest on Paranormal Yakker. It's been an absolute pleasure yakking with you.
Oh my gosh, absolutely, Stan. And let me tell you something, how perfect this is. If you are going to ever find a yakker in this world, it is me, my friend. That's all I've done all my life. As a kid, I got in trouble for it. And as an adult, I'm doing great things with it. So thank you for having me on your show. We were a perfect fit.
Beautiful. Thank you. Hi, everyone. This is Stan Mallow, the Paranormal Yakker. I hope you enjoyed part 1 of my interview with Vincent Genna. In part 2, I'll be talking with him about what steps one needs to take in order to manifest what they desire, and how you can put the law of attraction to work for you right now, so that you don't miss it and be amongst the first to receive new interviews when released. Be sure to subscribe to my free YouTube channel. To do that, all you have to do is press the subscribe button on your screen.